Salutations Rangers, General Bradley 101 back to you again with some more lore. In the world of Space Marines, chapter masters are a unique element amongst them. The greatest and the mightiest of their own lineage, strong and stalwart zealots, pious and mighty patrons, and all-around battlefield masters. Yet even amongst their mighty ranks, there are those who stand just above them. And one such amazing character is none other than the brutal warlord of the Minotaurs himself, Asterion Moloc. Yet what is this unique character? What makes him so goddamn deadly? And is he actually the same person? Or is he something altogether much darker? All that and more in today's video, ladies and gents. Without any further ado, let's get cracking on with today's video. Mr. Asterion Moloc, satrap of the Delios Krata, bringer of wrath, the brazen warlord, the spear of judgment, and the right hand of the High Lords of Terror. He's the current chapter master of the Minotaurs, and he's been the chapter master of the Minotaurs for God Almighty knows how long. And ladies and gentlemen, if a chapter master is meant to be the personification of a chapter, then Asterion Moloc is that to a goddamn T. Massive, brutal, brooding, violent, and infamous. Yet whereas the Minotaurs usually have a incredibly aggressive and brutal tactic to them, a very in-your-face type of stuff, Asterion Moloc is a little different in the way that he acts. He's not really so much I'm gonna get up in there and mess you up. He will mess you up, don't get me wrong, but he has that very slow dread to him. The idea of, I don't need to tell you how badly I'm gonna fuck you up. You already know just by looking at me type of shit. And just like other chapter masters, he is the epitome of his chapter, but just a little step above that. But he is renowned for being an incredible monster in melee combat, leading from the front, usually with his Terminator veterans near him, destroying and demolishing all. Again, a very perfect fitting for his chapter. But to truly understand just how perfect of a fit this guy is, we need to understand his chapter, the Minotaurs. The Minotaurs are from the 21st founding, the Cursed founding. And the Cursed founding is unique, because the tech priests decided to take the Emperor's gene seed and fuck with it a little bit. And that resulted in Space Marines that were objectively better after them having some type of unique superpower in their gene seed quirk, but also them having really bad luck and poor fates, hence why they were called the Cursed founding. It's also believed that they used any gene seed they wanted. And we have the unique thing of where it's actually confirmed by the author of the Minotaurs that they are meant to be loyalist Iron Warriors. And we consider the way that they act and everything about them, not to mention the obvious Greek heritage. I mean, literally, just look at Asterion Moloc. He's literally just Leonidas. Fucking quality, mind you. But the Minotaurs are that. They're loyalist Iron Warriors. They fight brutally, hard-hitting, they deploy in full chapter strength, and they're not assholes in the sense that they go looking for trouble. But if someone tells them, hey, we need to go and do something, all cards are off, all bets are off. They're going to fuck you up, steal everything that isn't nailed down, steal the nail stuff, call you a bitch, and then fuck off. Because they're the Minotaurs, they're Iron Warriors, they're fucking assholes, it's what they do. And no better way was this shown than in the Badab War, where the Minotaurs were the most assholish they've ever been because they were fucking up everyone's favorite beloved sad boys, the Lamenters. But instead of me waffling on, here it's straight from GW themselves on what the Minotaurs truly are.
The Minotaurs are a chapter that operate largely within the structure of the Imperial War Machine, although the Inquisition and the Ecclesiarchy have on numerous occasions attempted to investigate them. The Minotaurs, like all Space Marine chapters, are an autonomous organization, and will therefore only answer a call to arms on their own terms. On many occasions, the Minotaurs have responded to a besieged world's plea for aid faster than other forces, engaging the enemy in a massive frontal assault, and then withdrawing when other chapters would consolidate their position in order to meet a counterattack. It has been stated by several Imperial commanders that the Minotaurs are unreliable and unpredictable force, that they would prefer to avoid altogether in preference to more tactically balanced, if less assault-orientated allies. The Minotaurs' most famous action was the only one for which they have been officially recognized: their assault on the Lamenters' fleet during the Badab Uprising. The Lamenters, thought also to be a 21st founding chapter, had sided with the rebel Astral Claws in the uprising, and the Minotaurs vented their full fury on their wayward kin in a series of savage boarding actions that severely depleted the Lamenters' numbers and forced them to their eventual surrender.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Minotaurs. Mean, nasty, and violent, but effective at what they do. And Asterion Moloc is that to a T, but he's something a bit more than that. There are many different things and questions as to what exactly Moloc is. He is a veteran of hundreds of battles, and he has killed several characters that are on his level, or should be rather I should say, including chapter masters of Renegade as well as Chaos Lords, champions of the Dark Guards, Orc war bosses, Eldar Corsair princes, pretty much anyone who's supposed to be on his level, he just straight up whapped them. Asterion Moloc's one of the unique cases because we know how he stacks up against other loyalist chapter masters. The Minotaurs are basically the right hand of the High Lords. If ever there is a Renegade quote-unquote Space Marine chapter, aka Space Marine chapter that the High Lords don't like, the Minotaurs are sent to fuck them up. And like I said, Asterion Moloc has had to fight some Renegade chapter masters more than once, and he has always come out on top. But another incident that really goes to show that Moloc may not be entirely what he seems is when he was fighting the Necron Overlord, Maklan Kultak, the war leader of the Maranak Necron dynasty aboard the Necron vessel Dead Hand. Now during this time the two would duel, and they would both be badly wounded, before eventually they would both be vented out into space. Basically, it was reported that Moloc was killed in action, but the Minotaurs recovered him, and he's alright now, perfectly fine. But that's not the weird thing. The weird thing is that this is apparently the 7th such incident that has happened over the last 500 years. And this has led some people to speculate maybe he's not actually a regular Space Marine. Because Asterion Moloc has basically been the chapter master for as long as anyone knows. And when you consider that information about the Minotaurs is basically non-existent, that does make you question what's going on. It's speculated by some that the whole Asterion Moloc thing is actually kind of like a Phoenix Lord thing. You see, the individual Phoenix Lords that we see are just physical hosts for the entity that is the spirit of the Phoenix Lord. When someone becomes a Phoenix Lord, they themselves, their personality gets yeeted and replaced with the Phoenix Lords. So too it could be that Asterion Moloc is essentially a bunch of pre-programmed memory retentia as well as combat data built into the suit of the armor. So when a new chap is chosen to become Asterion Moloc, he's basically yeeted out of there, and Asterion Moloc is imprinted onto him and becomes this pseudo-automata war engine. Now, I don't know off the top of my head, but this sounds very, very, very bad. I imagine the Mechanicus would have a headache and a half when it comes to this, and it would kind of make sense. Clearly, Moloc is not just an ordinary Space Marine, and I'm not saying that just because of, oh no, this is what he can do. I'm saying this because of what people in-universe think of him, particularly the Custodes. In the book Regent Shadow, we get Shield Captain Valarian, and he does a little bit of an analysis of Moloc, and it's pretty interesting. Taken from Regent Shadow.
Moloc was of course the centerpiece of the display. He wore Terminator armor of the old Tartaros configuration, which made him massive even amidst the rest of the heavily armored company. Whereas Valoris was a picture of grizzled splendor, and Garadon carried himself with a plain kind of martial dignity, Moloc looked like some barbarian warlord out of the legends of pre-unification terror. His plate was clearly of the highest quality, but it had been engineered with a feral aesthetic, one that conjured up images of sacrificial rites and arcane combat rituals. To look at him was to catch a glimpse of a world of riddles and myths, of burning braziers and bloodied axe heads, of secrets locked within secrets, bound about with labyrinths of iron and stone. I have encountered many formidable warriors in my time. Valoris, of course, was reckoned the greatest alive in the Imperium, save the Primarch himself. And yet, just there, in that place, I can say without hesitation that Asterion Moloc, chapter master of the Minotaurs, exuded the most powerful stench of violence I had ever been in the presence of.
That is a Custodes mind. Not just any Custodes, but a shield captain. But not just any shield captain, a decorated shield captain. And he literally says, I have never met something exuding more violence, more killing aura than Asterion Moloc. This is the same dude who's fought demons of corn. And he's saying Asterion Moloc wants to kill shit more than the literal servants of the blood god of war, death, and murder. That is not something you should just take lightly. That is something that you should draw attention to. Because Custodes don't over-exaggerate. They don't overcomplicate things. Sure, they can have humor here and there. Sure, they can be human, quote-unquote. But at the end of the day, they call bullshit like they see it. And for him just to sort of be like, yeah, this dude is not a nice fellow. Be wary of him. It speaks volumes to just how deadly Moloc is. And again, it further goes to concrete, hey, maybe this guy isn't just a regular space marine. He could be some type of automata. Again, the idea that the memories of each subsequent Moloc keep on getting combined and integrated into this one ancient suit of Tartaros, and then some poor space marine bastard has just yeeted into it like a goddamn battery. That would make sense, and that would be pretty cool. That also explain how he can exude so much killing aura. It's not just one chap in there, it's God Almighty knows how many. And all of that shit is cobbled together in this weird pseudo-psychic frame of technology and spirit. There are some who even question that Moloc is just a vat-grown monster. Some speculate that he could be a Thunder Warrior, which I don't think is the case. I really don't. Thunder Warriors are one of those things that anytime anyone sees a big, thick chungus that's stronger than a space marine, like, oh, Thunder Warrior. I really don't think so. However, could he be a modified, engineered super specimen? Probably. Remember, these guys are from the Cursed Founding. It's very possible that when they created the Minotaurs, they wanted to create a sort of demi-Primarch. And they end up with Asterion Moloc. Basically, so a demi-Primarch in this case would basically be a custodian. And yeah, checks out. But Brad, how on earth could you ever dare say that this Asterion Moloc son of a bitch could ever be a custodian? That's bullshit. Fuck you. Well, Chief, it's not me saying that shit. You see, the person who said that, hey, Asterion Moloc may in fact be on the level of a Custodes is a Custodes. For you see, during the book Regent Shadow, Asterion Moloc appears out of the blue, and he is there saying that he managed to escape from the Death Guard nonsense, due to the sole fact of the Hexarchy. The Hexarchy being essentially the High Lords before Guilliman reorganized them. And he is there to help regulate terror, and he's there for the High Lords. And eventually what ends up happening is that there is a bunch of bullshit going on with the High Lords, and they end up cooing Guilliman, or trying to. So basically, there's a bunch of High Lords saying yes, saying no, and Asterion Moloc is there, and he decides that he's going to serve the High Lords, or what he believes to be the High Lords. Because remember, the old High Lords still have him on their payroll, and the transition hasn't gone through yet. And being the Iron Warrior son of a bitch that he is, he follows orders that he knows, and he knows the High Lords, which lead him to conflict with none other than Valarian himself. And what follows is very, very interesting. Taken from Warhammer 40k, Regent Shadow. I dropped to one knee, grabbed the High Lord by the shoulder, and pulled him down against the podium's marble floor. He was shaken, but not greatly. Indeed, he looked almost exhilarated. "Stay down," I told him. "My thanks," Thaddeus said, sheltering under the shadow of my armor. "Your master is as good as his word, I see." I had nothing to say to him in return. The broad shape of the situation was now clear to me. Those had been Thaddeus' assassins, used to eliminate the renegade High Lords on his signal. Such an outcome could not have arisen without careful preparation. So Valores must have been aware of his allegiance from the very start. I had been put in place to ensure that he did not die. Just a small piece of a very large machine. I looked up sharply, assessing what to do next. Alea was at my side, her armor caked in blood, her great blade greasy with it. My brothers continued to fire into the crowd, thinning any who got close, picking their targets with impeccable precision. But the last beams were now flying at us, scorching the stone and burning against the Vexilla shield. Now to get out, she signed to me, with what I interpreted to be a grim kind of amusement. That would be easier said than done. We had made it to the center point under the ruined high dome, a position with precious little cover and far from any exits. We were now surrounded by the entirety of the Hexarchy's army, which had recovered from its shock and was now fully alert to our incursion. Already hundreds were coming for us, racing down the aisles to take aim, and I knew that thousands would follow them. We formed a semicircle around Fadix, knowing that even Oromite would only last so long once the volume of hits picked up and Ravathon's shield failed. Aloris's forces were, as far as I could tell, still a long way off. To fight our way clear and somehow keep the High Lord alive looked impossible, though we would have to find a way. I calculated the odds, assessed distances, and prepared to give the order to move out. But then, just then, the multitude suddenly fell back. Their lasguns and bolters fell silent. The foremost ranks of Earth Guard and other rangers sold their weapons and retreated from the podium's approaches, dragging their wounded with them. The last echoes of combat slowly clanged out, resounding down the long naves like the dying peals of a bell. We ceased fire in return, our backs pressed to the bullet-blown altar. Around us, those officials who had survived the firestorm whimpered or tried to crawl away. The curtains of dust gradually drifted clear, revealing the gouged stonework and dented gilding. Here they come, signed Alea, knowing full well that this was no lost respite. The ranks of the Militarum troops parted, and the Minotaurs made their way to the forefront. There were 30 of them, with no doubt more making their way from positions further down the long aisles. They carried themselves like executioners, stalking deliberately, bolters trained on us, power weapons crackling. Once they were in position, just a few meters from the first steps to the podium, they too halted. They formed up in 2 lines, spread out before us, leaving a gap between them to allow their master to emerge. Moloc wore his Tartaros armor, as ever, the bronze of it near black, its ornate surface engraved with runes and esoteric patterns. His footfalls were purposefully heavy, sending spider webs of cracks across the damaged stone. He carried a power spear of similar pattern to ours, though it was darker and older than any I had borne. His red cloak hung like molten lead across his angular shoulders, and he carried a circular shield with symbols engraved on it that I could not decipher. I watched him approach, trying to ascertain some weakness, some flaw that I could use against him. I detected nothing. He may as well have been an automaton, a battle creation forged in some dark and forgotten laboratory and sent into the world of the living. Who could have halted such a monster? Valoris, in all probability. Gilliman, without a doubt. Beyond that, and as for myself, I felt no certainty. I took a step forward, moving between Moloc and Fadix, angling the tip of my spear towards the oncoming chapter master. No further, I commanded, gripping the stave tight with both hands. Moloc always wore his mask. I had never seen him without it. I picked up nothing behind that metallic visage. Nothing at all, except maybe that furnace aura of aggression he always projected, smoldering deep within the rune-guarded heart of ceramite and sinew. He kept coming. He carried his spear formally, as if it were some kind of sacrificial totem, a curse-warded instrument for the ritual killing of beasts. The lens in his archaic helm were black, and to look into them felt like looking into the void itself. There was a swagger in his every movement, a rolling, baleful demonstration of pure contempt. "No further," I warned again, tensing to strike. The moment he took a step onto the podium stairs, I would move. To this day, I do not know what would have happened if he had done so. I suffer from neither doubt nor pride, and can only speculate from the evidence I had before me. Perhaps I would have found a way. I had felled some of the greatest warriors of the enemy in my time, including many who most certainly had possessed the power to best me. But with Moloc, I cannot be sure. We were only prevented from coming together in combat by the sudden spit and crackle of a single teleport column streaking down from the cathedral's ruined heights. The Aether Vortex locked onto Ravithan's lock signal, crushing into the nave's nurtured floor, splashing against the flags of the podium and boiling away. As I felt the rush of sudden cold, and saw the white silver energy reflect in Moloc's burnished plate, I thought for a moment that Valoris had come, or perhaps Garadon, bringing with them the reinforcements we needed to fight our way out. I was to be disappointed. Instead, a single figure emerged from the guttering warp flame to stand by my side. It was a woman, clad in protective gear for the ether translation, but otherwise unharmed. I knew her only by sight. Violetta Roscaval, one of the two who had claimed ownership of the title, Master of the Administratum. Except that her rival was now dead, extinguished by an assassin's bullet, removing all possible doubt as to her legitimacy. She said nothing to me. She said nothing to anyone else. In front of all those 1,000 fighters, in front of all the assembled Space Marines, any one of which could have ended her with a single shot, she walked steadily down the steps. She came up to Moloc, looking less than a child before his colossal frame. I saw her hold up the icon of her office, the sigil of beaten iron borne by its holders since the dawn of the Imperial Age, but otherwise make no gesture. Moloc let her approach. He waited for her, as if suddenly subject to some hex or enchantment, his mighty limbs bound by unseen forces. When she lifted herself up to speak into his ear, he bent down to allow her, so that the words passed between them unheard by any other soul in that place. Having spoken, Roscaval then withdrew from him, walking back up the steps to join us. Moloc straightened, looked at me, and then at Fadix. Silence regained across the entire cavernous space, unbroken and complete. Then, slowly, he turned away. He trudged back the way he had come, his cloak flickering around his ankles, and his warriors followed. I watched them all go. The whole time, I never loosened the grip on my spear. Roscaval regarded Felix. Her expression was cold. "Alive, then?" she said. Felix clambered to his feet and smiled at her. "Evidently. Be welcome, Master." She didn't reply, but instead turned to me. All stood around her then. Alea, my brothers, the Sisters of Silence, everyone towering over her baseline human form. "This is now over, Custodian," she said. "A shameful episode, best forgotten, though you have my thanks for your part in it." For a moment, I was at a loss. It is an uncomfortable feeling to be shown up as having so little purchase on events, and to have been outmaneuvered at the moment of crisis, and by mortals at that. So in the end, I did the only thing I could have done. "By your command," I said, bowing. "High Lord." So aside from that being one of my most favorite excerpts from all of 40k, I know I said that a lot, but what do you want from me? I love this goddamn universe. It's interesting that Valerian, a Custodes shield captain, basically says, yeah, if Moloc were to score up with me, it's gonna be an even fight. I got no idea. That speaks absolute volumes to the sheer, utter, potent, devastating ability this guy must possess. Again, this is Valerian, a shield captain, a good shield captain at that, being like, yeah, I don't know about this, chief. Asterion Moloc is a monster, but I feel like we don't understand just how much of a monster he really is. For context, earlier in the book, a Custodes literally was able to separate an Imperial Fist and a Minotaur who were having a fist fight, literally grabbed them by the collar and threw them aside like they were nothing. That is what a normal custodian can do to a normal space marine. And here we have a shield captain talking about a chapter master, and he is unsure of who would win. I am convinced that Asterion Moloc is something more than a normal space marine. I'm leaning very heavily towards that pseudo-automata type vibe. Even more so, his interactions with the High Lord. Notice that when that insignia, when that office, when that signal was held up, he immediately stopped. Now yes, could just be Iron Warrior stuff, but again, I'm leaning into it that maybe there's a bit more than this. Again, these guys were created during the 21st Curse founding. Maybe even, because there's some stuff that alleged that they could be even older than that. And they're the personal servants of the High Lords. I could go on and on and on talking about this and that and anything in between. But the fact of the matter is, there is something unspoken, something hidden, something that is incredibly important that is connecting the High Lords to the Minotaurs, and that makes Asterion Moloc something so catastrophically created, so maliciously combined, that he is able to stand toe to toe with the Custodes' shoe captain. And that comes literally, not even from the horse's mouth, from the horse's mouth. Valerian himself is like, yeah, I don't know about this. In conclusion, Asterion Moloc is a monster of an absolute monster. He is a chapter master who has killed so many things that in all right should have outranked him. An Eldar Corsair Prince for once, not to mention Necron Overlords. These are entities that by all right should be able to easily kill a chapter master. Yet, Moloc kills them, so much so that he has multiple kills of this type of character. What Asterion Moloc is, what he truly is, I believe that we will never really know. But there is one thing that I do know, ladies and gentlemen, is that Asterion Moloc is not a normal space marine. He is not a normal chapter master, and whenever he is, it is something that would probably make the Adeptus Mechanicus crawl up their skin. He is a monster. Asterion Moloc is an amazing character, because he is kind of like a Minotaur. I know, shocking, Lamau. But it's a case of, he is this mythical figure, locked away by the gods to guard a labyrinth, this tortured creation of man, but absolutely deadly. And, who knows, perhaps it will take a special kind of hero, or maybe even worse villain, to claim the head of this mighty titan of myth. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for watching. Let me know down below, what did you guys think? Are you a big fan of the Minotaurs? Do you like the Minotaurs? Do you hate the Minotaurs? Do you say Minotaurs or Minotaurs? Mini Minotaurs, whatever you say. And tell me why you love Asterion Moloc's goddamn drip. We need more Spartan-themed Space Marines, or Greek-themed Space Marines, just more Space Marines in general. Okay, well, no, more custom Space Marines in general, let's put it like that, because we got a lot of fucking Space Marines. I'm gonna keep it a $150 with you. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna say a massive thank you to each and every one of you, but even more massive thank you to my awesome members and Patreons. Shout out to my Lieutenant tier members, Mr. Eddie V3 and Miss Majora of the Void. Shout out to my Sergeant tier members, Mr. Damiak, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Bowen, Mr. Sean IRL7, Mr. Matthew Merrill, Mr. Sergeant Cossack, 68W173D, and Mr. That Guy. Shout out to my corporate tier members, Mr. Tremail the Math Kitty, Lord Rosarius, Tech Priest Toaster, Mr. Bowen, Shauna Smithers, The Gentle Salamander, The Wench of Warhammer, Major Doshinect, Edward King, and Mr. Overanalyze This. And finally, but absolutely not least, shout out to my private tier members, Mr. Thomas Moslons, Mr. Ivan_SBW, Mr. Monkey Man, Mr. Michael Aeda, Mr. Diego Castro, Mr. Portus Unum, Mr. CMD Nay, Mr. Eric Massaro, Mr. Dom Marek, Mr. Ken_Sakura333, Mr. Adrian Von Furen, Mr. Morally Bankrupt, Mr. Matthew Peter, Mr. Josh Lee 1320, Mr. Adrex X1, Mr. Ethan Elam U71, Mr. Kiri Khan, Mr. Malpace-XB1XE, and Mr. Robert Makorovich. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Someday with memberships, get a bunch of awesome benefits behind the scenes stuff, early access to these videos, behind the scenes nonsense, but most importantly, you get to help out your boy. And remember, this will always be free. So whether you give your boy $1 or not, I love you just the same. Mwah! But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You've been beautiful, awesome, amazing people. Thank you so very much for watching. Y'all make sure to say hello to their boys and gals. And I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers.
You guys know what I want? I want a fucking dating game about the Primarchs. Light novel style and all. Different routes, different endings. Give me my Primarch dating game, damn you. GW, I'm gonna pay for this shit. Just have it fucking voiced properly, and I guarantee you, any woman in a 5-mile radius, just because of Sanguinity's existence, will pay for this. It's a gold mine. Do it, GW. I fucking dare you. Give me my Primarch dating sim.